Dr. McGuire with my co-host Michael. Michael, I like to refer to you as Law Talk, right? Because we met on TikTok.
Right, real law talk. That's
Real
what
Law Talk, sorry.
yeah, NYC law guy. That's where I'm at. That's where I met you.
Yeah, you have a lot going on and great conversations and posts. So today we're going to talk about, just for a few minutes, the world of law. You've been in the industry for a while. You are based in Manhattan. And so just give us a quick overview. Let's start with why you chose law.
Sure. So I graduated in 96 from Penn State. Yeah, we got robbed last weekend. And then I worked 2 years for an insurance company. And then I went to law school from 98 to 2001. In 2001, I became a prosecutor in the Bronx. I did that for 6 years. And now I'm here. Now I do criminal defense and CPS cases. And that's sort of been my path.
Okay,
Uh,
what do you mean by that? So people know what that means.
So I was a prosecutor. That means I prosecuted criminal cases in Bronx County. I was one of 300 prosecutors in the county. We handled
Wow.
80,000 cases a year. I personally handled 140 cases at a time, as did all my colleagues, and it was the greatest job I've ever had. Of course, you make no money, but it was like war zone with friends. And then I became a defense attorney, which was sort of a natural fit because you could just go to the other side and you've been through the system, so you know
Yeah.
all the angles and all the tactics.
So why law? Why did you go into that field? What wowed you about that?
I was working for the insurance company and I had a mentor and I saw that everybody went back to law. Everything went back to law. Every decision, because I was 22 years old. I had supervisors, above me, and they would have a meeting with the lawyers once a week. I'm like, this is weird. Everybody's just, and it was interesting. It was such a mystery to me, the what it was, and because it's funny because when you grow up you hear the law, right? When you grow
Yeah.
up you hear things like Ronnie McConnell, fourth grade, said that once he got his black belt he had to register his hands with the police.
Mm-hmm.
You know that one? Remember that one?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's my
Yeah.
favorite that's my favorite fake law story.
But you said everything is surrounded by law, right? So for the viewers, what does that mean?
So every single part of our society is engaged with law. I was doing
Yeah.
a conference with I was doing a career fair with kids a few years ago at a high school, and there was all these professions up there. I mean, there were professions that I never even heard of. And I said, you know what's funny about one of these professions? I said, all of them I've had to speak to a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had to speak to the real estate guy, except if I want to buy a house. But every time he sells a house, he's got to go to a lawyer for the closing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an all-encompassing, and it's also what I believe to be the greatest education in America. I would send everybody to law school just as an education because it makes you so much more intelligent is not the right word because that's not what it does. It makes you so much more able to break down problems.
Mm-hmm.
And
Give me an example.
any like when you take the bar, they teach the folds of the law. Like people are like, the best class I ever took was drafting, legal drafting, which is writing statutes, which is so much harder than you think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it says, one thing it says, no cars in the park after 9 p.m. Well, does that mean no police cars?
Yeah.
Fire department can't go,
Right.
ambulance can't pick up a sick person. So that's the sort of deep understanding of things that you get, and it applies to any position. It applies to, I have friends who are highly accomplished individuals in different areas, and that's sort of like the thinking that you get. So if I would love to have everybody go to law school, and most people, I know a lot of people that don't practice. They
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you do too, right? I'm sure you do. You
What
know,
law?
but a lawyer that went to law school and just don't practice, they do something.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. I just met a notary guy who, yeah, Villanova law, blah blah blah, did it for a little bit, but doesn't do it anymore. Um, so, what kind of individual is best for law? Because my takeaway from what you just said was a lot of critical thinking, right?
Yeah. I don't, that's a really That's a really great question. And it also is a question that everybody comes to me and asks me, but that question has such an agenda
Mm,
behind it because people want me to say, this is what they want me to say. They want me to say, like, oh, my 8-year-old likes to argue, right? But that's not it. That's simply not it.
hmm.
The ideal person for to become an attorney is anyone who has an interest because the world of litigation, what I do, I stand up in court every day. I'm in court every day with somebody next to me who I am representing.
Hmm.
That's not what the majority of lawyers do, right?
Mm.
So there's incredible writers who appeals lawyers. There's tax, there's real estate, there's all sorts of, there's entertainment law, there's deal makers, there's all sorts of law that whatever personality you have, you can find it.
Interesting.
There is all, but as a society, all we see is the guy in court, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all we know is Johnny Cochran.
Yeah.
You don't know Clive Davis's lawyer. The guy's been making deals for Clive Davis for 50 years. He's a
No.
music, right? But you don't know
No.
who he is. Like
Or recently, Karen Reed, the what's his name? Her attorney. Oh, you
I
know.
didn't, I didn't follow that case at
No,
all.
really?
I
Okay.
didn't. It was sometimes cases intrigue me, and like I'm an O.J. Simpson case addict.
Really?
I have an O.J. Simpson action figure.
Oh, wow.
It's right
Yeah, I
here.
remember that day like it was yesterday. Oh, cool. That whole thing was fascinating.
It is the greatest case ever
Yeah.
made. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. So
Anybody
what different types of law are there? I know. Ramble them off real quick. What's
and unlimited. So first we start off with, are you going to be a litigator? And litigation means two different things, right? So I do actual everyday criminal and CPS litigation. What does that mean? I go to court every day and I represent somebody who's accused of a crime next to me, and I address the court and I address the prosecutors and I deal with the case itself. And often it's litigating a motion, or when I say litigating, I mean arguing for a decision or being in front of a jury and arguing about the case. But then there's like civil litigation is different because people sue each other, they have discovery, and 95% of cases don't go to trial.
mm,
They
okay.
settle because what discovery does is it tells me what you have and I tell you what I have. And those battles can go on for years. And then they often settle because they sort of know what their position is because I've discovered from you what you have, right? So that's the litigation side. But everything else, you can do anything. It's literally any employment, real estate, any human activity in this country involves a lawyer at a certain point. Every
Yeah.
teach school board, uh, I don't I don't there isn't one area of that of in this country where at some point somebody doesn't have to engage with the legal process.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. No, that's a good way of what you just said. Human activity. So what's the education look like? What are the steps? What's the I wouldn't say bare minimum, but walk me through that. You graduate high school. One what's
graduate high school, go to college for 4 years, and then law school's 3 years. And it's a very unique experience because unlike college, everybody in law school is doing the same exact thing. You've never been to a school in your whole life where, because when you go to college, everybody has a different major, right?
hmm.
All your friends are different majors. In law school, you're in a class. I came up with a class of 200 kids, and we're all started first year. We're all studying the same thing.
Hmm.
That's a very interesting social experiment
Yeah. Can you
because
graduate with a communications or I don't know, a business degree, a liberal arts, whatever, and then
I
still?
had a BS in labor relations. I liked unions. I liked union stuff. But you could, I mean, there's no required degree for law school. So you can major in engineering, you can major whatever.
Wow.
There's no required degree. It's all about your grades and the test for law school, which is law school admissions test,
Beautiful.
which sucks. Just
Right.
letting you know.
I heard.
It sucks.
So let's talk about geographics because I just really thought of this. So you practicing law in Manhattan, it could be, right? I don't know. I'm guessing different than, or maybe not, the Midwest. Is there a difference?
There's differences in markets, and here's how it works. I am a criminal. So the wider and deeper an economy is,
Yeah.
the more specialized the attorneys are going to be. If I go to a small town in Kansas, there's four lawyers. They do everything, right?
Mm.
I'm in Manhattan. I do criminal defense, but I don't do white collar criminal defense. I don't do like corporate crimes. I don't have the bandwidth to, because that's a whole different, see, that it's specialized. You need a large law firm for that because it's
Mm.
a very big process. And I'll do CPS. I defend parents against CPS, right? But
Tell everybody what the CPS
or
is.
Child Protective Services. In New York City, we call them ACS, right? So you go to acslawyer.com. That's where I am. That's what I do. But I don't do custody. I don't do child support. I don't do divorces. So in every, it's not so much geographics, it's the amount of, really what it comes down to is the amount of activity that's in a city.
Oh.
Places like Chicago, New York, LA, you've got huge economies, deep economies, and you've got very specialized lawyers. You can find a tax shelter lawyer. I can find a tax shelter lawyer in the city right now in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
In the town, a small town in Kansas, it just doesn't exist because there's no need for that. So that's
Yeah.
what I mean.
I would think like a divorce attorney would be fun.
I just threw out my coffee.
Keep going, right?
I just threw out my. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Doc. I if you saw me one day picking up garbage in the street and you'd be like, Mike, I thought you really was. Yeah, but I wanted to, they made me do divorce law, so I quit. I would rather quit. Divorce law. You're married? Are you married? Or
Yeah.
I'm sure you've known divorced people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've known people that have gotten divorced, right?
Yep.
And I'm sure you've heard about that process.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And my one of my good friends, Dave, is my divorce lawyer. He was my personal. I was divorced, so he was my personal divorce lawyer, and now he's who I work with. He has a custody case that's been going on for 8 years.
Holy smokes.
Spent 500,000 already.
But why is that not good from a financial perspective? If
I'm
you're
not talking about
uh,
them financial perspective. I'm talking about my. I am unwilling. It really matters. Like you said, you think it'd be interesting.
yeah.
Is that what you do? You listen? Do you like to listen to people argue? Is that what it is?
Well,
What do you
yeah,
think is interesting?
kind of.
What do you think is interesting about it? Do you like to know the dirt?
I think it's interesting from that's a good question from a monetary perspective. Meaning, if they can't get their act together and settle and come to this resolution, and I'm the guy, the lawyer, which I don't know much about that. In terms of making money, the meter just keeps going because they can't settle. That's kind of how I look at it being interesting.
Sure, but let me tell your viewers, money in the law is not the problem. You can make money in any area of the law.
Yeah.
Your guys make money, tax. Everybody has the what you're talking about is, and it's actually not that good because you're dealing with people. The most money in law is made by tax attorneys,
Mm.
charge 1,000 an hour, 1,500 an hour. But that's corporations paying them. Right?
Yeah.
High level litigation, commercial litigation with corporations. It's all corporate work, right? Tons of money.
Entertainment.
Right. Some entertainment but then again, the top echelon. And then personal injury. Personal
Uh,
injury is the most accessible because anybody can file the case and get a settlement and make, $100,000 for 6 months worth of work.
wow.
That's
Okay.
that's like,
Yeah, it's common, right?
yeah, there's
Yeah.
law firms in the city that are settling, 10 million a week.
Wow. Wow.
That's the one. That's really in terms of the money, nobody makes more money than they do when you're comparing top to top.
Can you give us a moment where you an aha moment in court without giving us the details, like where like it was definitely a win for you or a struggle or something that really was out of the ordinary from day to day?
A haha moment.
Like, oh, wow, I did it. I got,
Oh, I've
man,
had so many successes and I've had so many failures. And it's the failures that I love because it's those failures like when I lose, I go, okay, so this is what happened. And then you have to be unapologetically uh honest with yourself. And was it you? And you look over what you did, and then you put the blame on someone. And then sometimes it may be you. Sometimes you may have asked the wrong question. Sometimes you may have, because there's no sense in gloating into the successes because you didn't learn anything. You did what you're supposed to do. So I find I like failure in that it opens your mind up. It's the
Hmm.
best time of life when because the really interesting stuff happens when you're down.
No
Nobody's
doubt.
learning.
No doubt.
Nobody's learning anything when they're popping bottles at nightclubs.
I'm
Every
glad you said that because I don't, there's a lot of people who don't get that, right? Your time to reflect, man, is when you're down.
it's the best place to be because it's the most honest place you're going to be if you're honest with yourself.
Hmm.
Don't learn anything when you win.
Hmm.
My
Hmm.
old mentor said, I either lose or I learn. I either
Yeah.
win or I learn. That's what he used to say.
How far in advance do you plan out your cases? Like how far out would you?
See, that's the problem in New York City. So, in terms of like if you're in federal court, and different courts operate in different ways. If you're in federal court and the federal judge says you're going to trial on Monday, you're going to trial on Monday. There's no there's no out. That's happening. There's an order, you're doing it, and if you don't, you're gonna get punished and it's gonna be bad.
What if you had another court appearance that day?
That's then you write in you write what's called an affirmation of engagement, and you say Judge McGuire said I have to start court, and I've
Yeah,
never
right.
had that just happens. I've never had I had one judge call another judge once, that was it. But if the judge says you're going to court, but things happen. So
Hmm.
that's it. Or sometimes you think you're prepared and then it doesn't go to trial. It gets settled, and because sometimes the best way to avoid a fight is to appear strong, right? So,
Hmm. Yeah.
and sometimes when I'm ready for trial and they know I'm ready, this happens all the time. And I did it last month and I was ready. I was like, all right, can we please start the trial? Because I have to get this going. And the DA turned around and dismissed the case.
Oh.
Just without telling me. She didn't
Oh
give me a
wow.
heads up. I said, I got my four witnesses ready. I'm ready to go. Let's go you have to get a trial part. So yeah.
Do you remember your first case?
Mhm. My
Your
first trial was a drunk driver. I was a prosecutor. I was driving drunk. He was so awesome. He was so drunk. And the jury
It was
came.
a pretty easy one, right?
Yeah, he convicted him in 8 minutes.
Wow.
But yeah, but there's been, and then after that, you sort of lose track, because you get to be. So I'm 51. And I've been doing this for 25 years,
Wow.
and now it's just become you just kind of do it, and you go through the motions. There's still the
Yeah.
excitement of the jury that never gets old, because you're in front of 12 strangers,
Hmm.
and it's the most rewarding thing because 12 people are like, you're right, and they go with you, and then or doesn't go your way. So
All right, a couple more things and I'll let you go. So, if one is pursuing law as a young adult, is networking at all important from high school to college through law school, or does everything fall into place? What does that look like?
well, I mean, if my son wants to go to law school, he's going to have some advantages,
Yeah, right,
right?
right.
He's going to have, just like if your son wanted to do what you wanted to do. So yes, parental hookups matter. Um, your socioeconomic status matters. Where you go to high school, where you go to college, and definitely where you go to law school. Because
Really?
yeah, because you're going to be in, if you went to Harvard, and it's not only that you go to Harvard, it's who you go there with, and,
Right.
and who those people are, and who those people have behind them. So in terms of getting a job, all those things matter.
Mm-hmm.
But having a father who was a lawyer is a huge advantage. I didn't. My son does, right? So his advantage would be vast
Mm-hmm.
because I know every step of the way, just like a fireman would be able to guide his son, you know. So that it matters like every other industry.
You see that a lot in New York, right? That firemen, police follow the footsteps of.
Oh yeah, I know a family where all four brothers and the dad are all cops
Beautiful.
of different rank.
Yeah.
And you got the mother at home having a nervous breakdown
Yes.
because when I met them, I'm like, so I was a DA, he was one of my witnesses. I said, so every month one of you gets hurt. That's how it works, right?
Hmm.
He's like,
Hmm.
yeah, that's how it works. Because the odds are somebody's going to get hurt. Luckily, nothing bad, but
The good part is they do the 20 years and they get out if they want. If they
yeah,
want.
it's a
Um,
tough.
all right, so and I'm just fascinated by law. I'm just your Joe average, right? Don't really know much about it, but I do like watching all this stuff on TV, um, which is very sensationalism. But um, the jury, how well? Two last questions. The jury interaction. What does that typically look like? How do you sell yourself at all in
I
regard to that?
focus on I focus on the case. I don't subscribe to trying to get into people's heads because I just this is the first time I'm speaking to you. I know you're in education.
Hmm.
I know you're a white male. I know you're over 40. I
What?
allegedly. Uh, but I cannot in any way gauge your view of the criminal justice system
Hmm.
unless you and I have a deep discussion, but we
Sure.
can't do that in the jury room. So I look for people who are paying attention. I look for people who are, but sometimes they do get asked. And there's people now in these much more polarized times. At the last jury I did, I had several people saying they can't believe anything the police says. I've had
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I've had the other occasionally you'll get the other side that says, well, if he's here, he must be guilty of something.
Hmm. Hmm.
Those are few and far between. Studies show, and this is my experience, that with all the hype that's out there, once people sit in a jury box and are given the power and are shown the evidence, something interesting happens. Their egos take over
Mm.
in this way. This is so intriguing to me. They really want to do a good job. They don't want, I've seen juries be so meticulous with evidence. They don't want to be seen as slackers.
Mm.
They're given this power of the judge, right? That's your power to decide factual innocence or guilt.
Hmm.
And they take it very seriously, very seriously. And they work very hard. I've
As
seen.
it should be, right? And you correct me if I'm wrong. Do you have a say in the jury selection?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So in New York, you get what are called peremptory strikes. I can kick you off the jury for any reason.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't like your glass. I don't like your glasses.
Wow.
I don't like the way you looked at me.
Dang.
Yeah, we get peremptory challenges, and then there's something called for cause. The guy gets up and says, "I don't like the police." The DA gets rid of him.
Could
That's,
that be abused though?
of course, most people, but most people don't. If they can, if they don't have any problems with family or job, most people want to serve on a jury.
Yeah.
Most people they
Sure.
find it interesting, and but a lot of people can't because of jobs, because of work and kids
Sure.
and stuff. Like especially
I
people.
meant though you kicking people off for whatever reason, meaning abusing that power. Because I'm sure if it's
Great question, Doc. Well, there's a process for that. It's
all
called the
right.
Batson Challenge. Let's say I kick off every white male.
Ah.
DA goes, well, I'm challenging you. I'm giving you a Batson challenge. You get kicked off every white male. What's going on? Judge goes, yeah, what's going on? I said, well, Doc McGuire, I don't like his glasses. Joe Smith snarled at me in the hallway. And Mr. Jones told me to my face in the parking lot that I was an idiot. Like, reasons that you have to prove that. That's a good question. So there's a Batson challenge. And then there's a reverse Batson challenge. Well, Batson's for basically for minorities, for minority representation. But reverse Batson is kicking off the majority, like white males, but it's rare. That's rare. Doesn't
Wow, that's fascinating.
the jury process itself can be because you did you ever see the O.J. Simpson crime American crime story?
Yeah. Hmm.
The one with Shapiro was John Travolta.
Yeah.
That they have a jury selection there, and they have the white woman that's on there, and they call
Right.
her
Right.
the devil because
Hmm.
she's like so anti them. But yeah, that does happen.
Fascinating. All right. Last question. What would you say, from an education perspective? What are two most popular courses or classes in college or law school that are an asset to that profession?
Oh,
And I'll give you one, and you tell me if it's right. What would come to my mind is the public speaking. No,
that's not in law school. There's no
no,
class.
really?
Not mine. There's no.
Wow.
Yeah, there's something called moot court.
Okay.
where you have practice, you do a trial, but that's pretty interesting you said that. There is no when I was in law school, maybe different now in some laws, and every law school is different. It's almost as if they they take it as an insult because
Really?
everybody who entering law school is like the mob. Most people don't get out.
I can see that.
No, because the attrition rate is very low
Mm-hmm.
because of this. Because you told everybody you're going to law school,
Mm-hmm.
so nobody's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have public speaking class. But not that I have. But you do moot court, and most people that went to law school thought of themselves as being in a courtroom. Eventually, that changed for their career somehow.
Hmm.
So most people, except for I had a couple buddies who were like, "Oh, I'm going to do tax." They were corporate guys. They were accountants who were going to do tax law, which is a perfect fit. But torts is an important class. That's just lawsuits. That teaches you the basics because all lawsuits are the same in terms of the process and in terms
Yeah.
of legal, but obviously the law is different. And the criminal law is something that people are attracted to because everybody believes they have their own internal moral meter of what should be.
Yeah.
You start talking about like different sentences, and
I
that
like that.
yeah, because everybody wants to, like what do you do with a 13-year-old who shoots his friend? Like, that's every day. That's real.
Yeah.
You
All right,
know?
listen, we're up against the clock. 1 minute.
All right.
Last question. I do appreciate it. Do you ever get nervous?
Yeah. You're
That's
not
a good
human
thing,
if
right?
you're not human if you're not nervous.
Awesome.
When that jury comes out and the judge says, "Have we reached a verdict?" and
Yeah.
say yes, that's my time. That's
Okay.
my time for my internal sort of. If you could see me internally, there's like people running around in my head.
I love it.
Like,
Hey,
not
you're keeping it real.
never in court because I've been doing this for a while, and I'm just not that type of individual. I enjoy public speaking. I've done it in front of thousands of people. I've been on TV. I like that part. But when that jury comes out, every trial lawyer has that moment where there's this freak inside you exploding, and you're just sitting there like this.
I love it. All right, Mike, I appreciate it. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Again, everybody based out of Manhattan in the city. You have a lot of cool things going on. I do appreciate your time, and we'll catch up next time.
Thanks, Doc.
All right, hang tight.
Bye bye.